People seem to think that truckers are unintelligent and lazy because they sit on their butts all day and don't do anything. But I tell you what, you drive an 11-hour shift one day and go through some construction sites and some rush hour and just experience the mental drain of that, and then you do it day after day. You don't get to come home and reset. Some people do, but I mean, your home is right there for the week. That's all you're limited to. So there's no real way to decompress or really relax in between shifts. So you're out there all week, you're driving, you have to stay alert. At the end of the day, everybody's out to get you. Every, four-wheeler on the road, car, truck, whatever. If you get in an accident with them, they're gonna sue your pants off as the carrier, as the truck driver. So you're on the ball paying attention for 11 hours of driving during the day, worried that Joe Schmo McGee is going to sideswipe you and going to bankrupt your family, and you do that day after day without even getting to go home. It's an incredibly draining job on you. During the day, it's go baby go until you either make it to where you're going to go or you won't. I rode with Jared to his office. He's like, "So what kind of car do you drive? What kind of pickup do you drive?" That's what he said. I was like, So our logo here, it was initially hand painted by my mother over at the hog site for the farm. It initially came with a hog barn here with the sunset behind it. We adapted it to the trucking operation, and initially it had a Peterbilt with a dry van behind it. So we went to a Kenworth with a hopper because that's more of where the company went. I am a veteran. I did my service to my country, and I'm proud of that fact. And as such, we've got a soldier here saluting the flag on every logo on every truck. We do also employ quite a few veterans, two of them which I was actually overseas with and now work for me. One of whom was my first sergeant and way outranked me, but now works for me, which is kind of fun because now I get to boss him around. My dad's company was initially called Grover Farm. When we created a new LLC, we went to Grover Farm Trucking, but we wanted to make sure we kept the farm in there because that's our roots. There are a lot of companies that, they farm first and they truck second. We are opposite of that. We truck first and we farm second because the trucking operation has become so large. But it's important to remember our roots were in farming. And of course, it's important to keep Amboy on the logo because the small community helped us get where we were. In small communities, if I need a tire on a Sunday, I know Doug uptown, I've got his cell phone. If he's busy, he might grouch a little bit, but he'll come up and change it because we all work as a team around here. So it's good to have the small community feel and know the people in town that you can all work together. Because someone told me, Grovers, we don't ever see your trucks. And I'm like, nah, you see them all the time. You just don't see them. So now I put the logos on everything and it's eye-catching and people really seem to like the logo. And now people are like, I see your trucks everywhere. Well, they always were, just now there's a logo that catches your eye as they go by. It's important that we present a good image, nice trucks, not good looking drivers, but clean cut drivers that are dressed well in appropriate footwear for the job so that we present a positive image to that customer of that company because we are actually the one interfacing with their customer. So my name is Rob Grover. I own, along with my wife, and operate Grover Farm Trucking out of Amboy, Minnesota, which is a small town just about 30 miles north of the Iowa border, south central Minnesota. Town of about 700 people. Small community here in rural America, which we're trying to keep alive by bringing jobs in. We currently are operating about 40 trucks with about a 50-50 mix of owner-operators as well as company trucks. We are in the agricultural industry in different aspects of it. We haul, we got hopper trailers where we're doing seed and feed and fertilizer. We also have van trailers where we partner with seed manufacturers to deliver seed directly to customers and dealers around the upper Midwest primarily. We also have kosher food grade tanks where we're hauling soybean oil and canola oil and other ag products, as well as belt trailers where we're doing direct to farm deliveries, and liquid fertilizer tanks where we are once again delivering plant nutrients. So we're running about 40 trucks on 5 different types of trailers, but all with some aspect of agriculture, and a lot of them for about a handful of direct customers that can utilize different types of trailers. Currently, we're running primarily Kenworth trucks as company trucks. We've got a couple W9s. This was actually my toy truck that I've only driven myself once, but I always wanted a 100th anniversary, so I bought it and put a company driver in it that takes good care of it. I mean, he hasn't washed it in a while, but mainly it's, if I ever wanted a truck for myself, it would be this one. My wife approved it, which was good. I was kind of surprised. Our local dealer we dealt with is Ream Kenworth, and they only got 100th anniversary edition, and they sent out an email to all their customers and said, hey, we've got this available, who wants it? And within 2 minutes I had money down on it, got the approval from the credit committee, aka my wife, to purchase it. So we got this. We debuted it at it was actually in the Kenworth booth at the Big Iron Classic Truck Show, and then we took delivery of it the next day, brought it home, and made it ours. With our operation, because we're running primarily rural roads, we got a lot of overnights. So all these trucks in the yard right now will actually be running an overnight shift tonight, hauling food grade oil. We run the herd bumpers on everything because we smack a lot of deer on 2-lane roads. They weigh about 500 pounds, so it does take away from our payload. We're not running interstates that often. They're pretty expensive, but you hit a couple deer and they pay for themselves in a hurry. We initially started, my father started it, he believes in 1982, and it was initially sweet corn trucks, dump trucks, hauling for, at the time it was Green Giant, now it's Seneca Foods out of Blue Earth and Lesueur. We then transitioned in, at that point he was a dealer for Syngenta Seed, which we have a plant right here in town, so he started hauling seed products for them, and then we added our Interstate Authority in 96, expanded the footprint a little bit, started dabbling in some brokered van freight. We got some decent accounts that we did for about the next 20 years reliably, but we've since moved out of that more to direct customer freight. Once we decided to get out of the vans, because our main customer, their plant shut down, we transitioned into hoppers, and the hoppers opened a lot of gateways within our current ag customers. Simple questions of, hey, what else can I do for you? Have led to really good growth into different avenues. And it's as simple as asking that little question, hey, what else do you need? Conveniently, it was after COVID when nobody could find any trucks that we got into all these other additional avenues. Currently, it's not as easy because there's low amount of freight and high amount of trucks. It's still worth having that discussion with your customer. Hey, what areas do you have a hard time filling and what can I do to help?
Chase might be down. Where's he headed to?
He's headed to Winona, Minnesota, to grab a load of ATS to go up to Forest Lake, Minnesota. And then hopefully we'll have another load out of Rosemount, Minnesota for him to grab on his way south. Now the truck that I used to drive before I went to the office was a 99 W900, E-lug exempt, but with 8-inch straight pipes on it. I sold it to an owner operator and I told him it was everything the 5-year-old truck driver wants. Lights, long hood, loud, make you giggle. Not really good for fuel economy or, you know, not irritating your neighbors, but everything the 5-year-old truck driver wants out of life. It's unfortunate in the corporate world, the handshake doesn't go as far as it used to. The relationships with your customers, with your point of contact there, I mean, they're important, but they only go so far. Because at the end of the day, the customer is looking to get that product moved as cheaply as possible, as reliably as possible, and on time. So if you're not going to be cheap, if you're not going to be cheaper than your competition, you need to make sure that you're always on time and you're giving them that reliability that they want. There's always someone that'll do it for cheaper, and a lot of times the person that comes in and does it for cheaper will do it for a couple months and then they'll lose that account because they're not providing that reliability and that on-time service that that customer is looking for. It's always a balance of those three things when you're trying to get a lane and have customer retention and grow stuff. You're always balancing those three things. You got to be priced competitively so that you're even in the running, and then you have to back it up with service. When we got the opportunity to get tanks, they asked, hey, do you have any tanks? No, but give me 5 minutes, I'll figure this out. And I bought the only 2 used tanks in the Midwest at the time, because that was during the supply crunch that would work. And then I ordered another 12 brand new ones. But we got those used tanks, got our foot in the door, and that's been the biggest growing aspect of our company over the last couple of years, has been more of a transition into liquid freight while still maintaining the hopper freight and the bulk freight that got us to where we are. So we're able to expand into new types of freight while still keeping the capacity where we were to not leave our customers high and dry. Trailers, I like to make them, fully lit up because I spent many years being a driver myself, and I like lights when they work. When they don't work, it's kind of a pain. So we've added all sorts of light packages. STE is the company we're buying these tanks from. They custom designed this shroud for us to put the lights in to make it look a little better and hide the wires. All of our trailers, we kind of do our little branding thing of they all have red fenders. Even my van trailers are black with red skirts. All of the hoppers are black with red landing gear and red tarps. So the red thing is just kind of something I do. Once we start trading this stuff in, I'll be able to see it going down the road and know, hey, that was one of my trailers at one point. We even work with our trailer manufacturers to put our logo in all the landing gear and on everything, just because it's fun. No real reason to do it. It's kind of fun. These are all kosher food grade, so they're 7,000 gallons. They are smooth bore. There's no baffles, because for food grade, you need to be able to clean them out and ensure that they're up to snuff for food grade. These trailers right here, 06, 05, and 01, these are doing a run, just a local run, 50 miles one way loaded, transferring product in between 2 plants. We've gone and we've got remote vents on them, so the drivers don't need to climb up and down. They can vent the trailer from the ground. And that was a work comp thing. In the middle of winter, you don't want them climbing up on icy ladders to get to the top to open a lid. So we put remote vents to try to make it easier on our drivers. We pride ourselves in doing a lot of that kind of stuff because I was a driver, my dad was a driver. It gives us a little bit more understanding of what our drivers are going through so that we can do little things like that gets me no more money as a company. That actually costs me money to maintain that and add it to the trailers, but it increases driver retention and reduces possibility of injury. It's a good, solid investment, but not everybody looks at that up front, and having the driver's perspective, I think, really helps us cater to them and do what they need us to do for them to succeed. Once again, we got into fertilizer tanks because a customer of ours asked, hey, do you have fertilizer tanks? So we worked with that customer. I actually didn't buy any used ones. I ordered all brand new. And when they got here, the first year was when the market was kind of collapsed, and people coming out of step deck and reefer and van freight were coming into all these other things. So the first year we had them was really a bad year for them. I was really questioning whether that was a good choice to buy the fertilizer tanks. They spent most of the winter as a overly expensive snow fence in my trailer lot. But this year, they're running constantly. They're doing well. I've been putting out feelers with other companies, such as, like airplane de-icer, road de-icer, and other things we might be able to haul in the winter to keep them so they're not so seasonal. But a lot of that just comes from cold calling, just coming up with an idea and running with it and trying to find the right person. At the BulkLoads conference, I had one guy come up to me and he said, hey, we're hauling these outbound for a company. We've been doing it for a couple of years. We lost our backhaul that we paired with it, and I just can't make it work anymore. What would you suggest? So for him, I said, well, your customer is a producer of a product. I believe this was DDGs in his case. So they need corn to come in to make those DDGs. maybe just tell your customer, hey, we need some extra money on this. This is the rate, this is the amount of money we need for this truck to go out and back. We would like you to find us some corn coming back. And they may be able to move corn for cheaper because it's paired with it. So it's a win-win for both your producer and your customer. They're getting a better value on their corn back hauls, and the carrier is now making the amount of money that they need to stay profitable. So using some of your relationships like that can really help further you. Just ask the question. And this guy, he's like, I never thought about that. Everybody wins in that scenario, and I'm sure there'll be some people that'll be like, oh, now you're hauling for cheap on your way back. Yeah, but you're hauling for what you need on the aggregate load.
One of my things here is for anybody looking to grow, outsource everything you can to someone else that'll do it at 70% of what you do. Because no one's gonna ever do it as well as the guy that has their name on the door. Because no one else needs to. It's not their job. It's not their company. It's their job. Same with billing. I brought my wife on. Well, she brought herself on. But she does all the billing, HR, payroll now, and we got another gal in the office that helps her out. So that's given me the time to focus on the thing that I think I'm the best at, which is sales and developing new accounts. So now every week it's scheduled in. Tuesday mornings is my cold call morning. You don't want to do it on Mondays, everybody's putting out fires. You want to do it before lunch. You don't want to do it at the end of the week because ain't nobody want to talk to you then. So Tuesday mornings, I've got a list of people, companies I've reached out to, and I keep track. I've got last time I called them, who I communicated with, what we talked about. That way you're not the annoying person that's continually calling and badgering. Because if you're that guy, people are going to look at your phone call and they're not even going to answer it. They're going to be like, oh, this guy again. The big thing is try to outsource anything you can so that you can focus on the vision of what you're doing. That way you can go.
We do run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. So there's always people coming in and out of the yard every day at all hours. So the house here, actually, we rent it to one of our company drivers. Him and his family lives here. He helps us out with the little things. You know, if somebody's having an issue with a truck in the morning and I'm not in the yard yet, he'll run out and try to give them a hand. So it's really nice to have that in the yard. We have an active crop farm, row crop, corn and soybeans. That's soybean field right there of ours, corn there, as well as raised pigs. Currently, we can park and plug in 22 trucks in the yard on a weekend. A lot of our guys, owner-operators and company guys, keep their equipment at home, which is nice, unless their outlet doesn't work, and then I have to go thaw it out in their yard, which really irritates me. But most of the time, it's nice. Because if everybody came home on the weekend, we just, quite honestly, wouldn't have enough room for everybody. So from the yard here, it's a great place for doing direct ag commodities because we have so many producers around us. We've got 2 CHS soybean plants within 30 miles. We've got an ADM soybean processing plant within 30 miles. We haul out of a couple of AGP processing plants that are about 60 miles away from the home yard. We haul DDGs. There is, I would say, within a 60-mile bubble of here, you're going to be looking at 15 ethanol plants. So there's a lot of ag in the area. Now, there's also a lot of trucking companies and competition in the area because there is so much work to be had. You know, I saw this on Facebook the other day. Someone was complaining that tracking's coming to the hopper industry. Tracking's been in the hopper industry for years. You just haven't utilized it. And that's something we actually, through Bulk TMS, offered a year ago to customers. Hey, if you want real-time tracking on your loads, we'll put it in Bulk TMS. We'll make our driver use the app and give you real-time visibility of your truck. They didn't ask for it, we offered it because it was one more thing we could differentiate ourselves on and provide a better customer experience at no cost to them, but might end up getting us additional work on the backside because we're offering it. If you're going to complain that your customer wants you to track your load and not make steps to do it for them, then that customer might not be for you and you might not be the carrier for them. For example, CHS is tracking a lot of their fertilizer, they're tracking their refined loads. Land O'Lakes is tracking almost everything now in real time. Coke Fertilizer is tracking. I mean, there's so many of these companies and customers that are doing it already. Why not jump on that boat? And a Bulk TMS with that integrated system might be something where you could easily get into it. As more and more of these bulk companies begin using it, we use it more. For example, CHS Fertilizer wants tracking on bulk TMS. They will actually push us the loads through bulk TMS so we can just accept them and assign a driver. That's simple.
Yeah.
And as more and more customers on BulkLoads get into that, it'll make it easier and easier, and there'll be more utilization. Get this one started up and do our walk around. So as the trucking company, and especially as the owner, it's important that our guys do a pre-trip every day, because you can avoid a lot of tickets and your safety rating. You know, we encourage guys, if there's any question about a tire, let me know. I've got 80 tires in the shop over there. We'll throw new tires on, that's fine. Of course, sometimes the fenders make them hard to check. I personally order every trailer with front lift axle, no matter which one it is. Tanks, hoppers, vans. A lot of our accounts were running empty half the time. So getting that extra axle off the ground to get rid of tire wear and get better economy. And fun fact, pay less in tolls, because then you only have 4 axles on the ground instead of 5. You know, another thing we do, just because all of our trailers, hoppers, even our tanks, they've got a second set of blinkers up high, and the top 3 lights are always a brake light. Just because up here with the LED lights, they get covered with snow really quickly. So it provides another level of safety for our drivers to make sure that people can see them and know what they're doing. And it looks cool. Food safety, you always got to make sure that the trailers need to be sealed every time they're outside of a plant. So even these guys that are going back and forth to the same plant, they're putting on seals and taking off seals 8 to 10 times a day, just to ensure that anytime they're out, it's sealed up to make sure that no contaminants get in that food product. Every trailer in the fleet now has disc brakes, as well as every new truck is ordered 100% disc brakes. We really like them. It gets rid of the grease zerks, gets rid of the slack adjusters. We appreciate our owner operators, but sometimes they're not always the best about performing trailer maintenance. And occasionally I won't see a trailer until it's time for a DOT. They might keep it for a full year. Eliminating all the grease zerks and slack adjusters really helps preserve the life of your tires by people not, engaging them wrong and knowing that your stuff's actually being taken care of.
Things you can't stage.
Yeah.
At least there's a driveway.
Cool. Let's just see how good I am.
This won't make the cut if it's bad.
15-point turn.
That field lane should have been over.
That would have been too easy.
It would have been.
One more and we'll have her. We've got 3 Prestige hoppers. That's the brand. They're made out of Canada. They're built like tanks. So those are the 3 we use for harvest, because they're steel frames. If you drop them off of a field approach, you're fine. But they're very heavy because they're steel frames, and they're not that large for capacity. So those are our farm trailers, and then we utilize Cornhusker trailers, commodity trailers, for our over-the-road commodity types. Lightweight, and then so all of our trailers, we order them to a certain spec. So we've got them at 43 feet long, because some of your pet food plants where you got to back in, you can't be more than 43 feet. So that's as long as we can go. And then we used to do a lot of farm loading. We don't anymore, but because of that, we always ordered them with an 84-inch sidewall so that we could get them underneath a greenback or a side chute coming out of a bin. Because we still do a lot of seed deliveries directly to dealers, in bulk, we have to make sure we have 22 inches of clearance under the hopper. So we order them with an egg hopper, but Cornhusker worked with us and ensured that we had a large commodity door on an egg hopper height. So our doors are still really large to allow us to get some of that sticky product off, but up high enough that we're able to still deliver direct to farm. And then we go with 102 wide because I want to increase the carrying capacity for, wheat midds and cottonseed and loose soybean hulls and all that good jazz. The trailers we order are kind of a odd spec, I would say. I don't think a lot of people order them that way, especially with high clearance trap on a large capacity hopper. That's not really the industry standard. Most people, if they do that, are running the really low clearance traps for the commodities. Because when you're unloading with a high clearance trap, it goes everywhere because it can balloon out because your trap is up so high. So it does create some issues there, but it's the trade-off for still being able to do on-farm deliveries. So as we continue to grow, we've decided to implement more and more technology, especially some technologies that I didn't think we would ever utilize back when we were a smaller carrier. In this case, things such as onboard driver dash cams with AI technology, where if a driver in this case was following too close, he was within 0.8 of a second for more than 10 seconds, it'll send me a notification that he's following too close behind the car in front of him. However, in this case, we can see where his accelerator pedal is, and at the end, the car starts getting further away from him as signified by the green and the AI showing you that. So we're able to utilize this to ensure our drivers are doing what they're supposed to. In this case, I won't coach this driver on this situation because he must have just got a little too close and then following distance opened up after and he came off the accelerator pedal. But if it was a risky behavior that I needed to send back, I could go ahead and just do a coaching session, assign it to the driver, and shoot it right back to his e-log tablet where he'd be able to review it and see what I saw as a business owner was wrong with the way he was driving, and as the safety manager, we utilized the e-log systems and the tracking. So all of our trucks in the fleet, even our owner operators, are required to have a tracker on board on their truck so that we can have real-time tracking of them along with our trailers, which has made it a lot easier when we have someone that falls behind and we need to cover that load with another truck. We can see in real time that that might happen, and we're able to make a plan sooner rather than later to ensure that that load gets covered. Furthermore, with all these new technologies and customers wanting real-time tracking, we have a customer currently that utilizes the Bulk TMS system so that we can provide them with real-time tracking of their loads because that's what they desire. We also have a couple other customers that use different products to track their loads. And when we went to implementing Bulk TMS, we offered that product to our customers. Hey, if you want real-time tracking of your loads, we are willing to do it and provide you with that at no additional cost. And that was just one more way to differentiate us from our competition to hopefully get more of a market share and be ahead of the curve rather than behind the curve when it comes to implementing new technologies that are pretty prevalent in other forms of transportation, but not so much in the bulk industry. 99% of our freight is customer direct. We're not utilizing brokers. I'm negotiating directly with the customer. I do all the sales for all the trucks still. So I've got my list of who I need to call and, areas in the business that might need a little bit extra. And then I try to prioritize those and, track down those leads and see what I can do. And 9 times out of 10, you get nowhere with it. But that 10th one might be, add $1 million to your yearly revenue as a company. So it's worth making the calls, even if most of the time it's just getting rejection. When I ordered all these new trucks, I wanted them to look like a fleet, but not all be the same. So I've got a lot of trucks. We're using this legendary red paint. It is metal flake paint, which I really like. It really shines in the sun. And then the stripes on all of them, we've got different color stripes, but all of them have the same stripe design so that they all kind of look like a fleet while not being identical to each other. We have gone to adding wet kits to all the new trucks. We just run a 4-gallon cooler to pump off the tanks and also run our belts to try to keep weight down because we still do get paid by the pound. So we didn't want to run a big reservoir. So we've gone to just the 4-gallon coolers, and they work pretty good. You do have to pay a little bit of attention if you're going to pump out multiple trucks. Then you'll have to take your time and let it cool down. But for the most part, they work pretty well. And I've said this before in different videos, and I think I said it at Bulk conference. Every time I get squeezed where I don't have enough work, or a customer finds a different carrier, or whatever it happens to be, where I have to suddenly go, oh shoot, I don't have enough work. BulkLoads is where I end up. Okay, let's look at everything in the Midwest. Let's see who's shipping product. Anytime I get in that bind, BulkLoads is where I go to try to fill up my schedule. And I mean, there's a year ago, we've got a customer now we do 50, 60 loads a week for that I had never done business with before. I didn't even know they existed until I got jammed one week. I didn't have enough work. I go on BulkLoads and I find this person is posting some loads. So I take some loads, I call them up, and my first driver goes in there and they're like, yeah, they're shipping outbound too. Cool. Ask that customer, hey, what do you got for outbound? So now we're doing inbound and outbound for a direct customer who pays within 6 days. An important caveat in growing your business is cash flows. But I didn't even know that customer existed until I got in a situation where I needed more work and had to go on BulkLoads to find it. We've had Delta airline pilots drive for us in the past when stuff got slow with the airlines. Many of our drivers actually have degrees. They choose to drive because for us the money's good, and it is a lifestyle. I mean, there's not people breathing down your neck watching your every move. There is to a certain extent with the e-logs, and obviously with me watching my drivers to ensure they're at their customer. But that's all I care about. I want you to safely get the load to where it needs to be on time. I don't necessarily care how you do that, as long as the end goal is it's there. To say that drivers are all lazy and unintelligent isn't really a fitting description of them, and unfortunately I think too many people think that. So, I mean, that's something we really need to get away from. The initial logo we got here, my mother actually came to me, she wanted to make a logo for the hog barn. I was actually deer hunting right over there and saw my barn here with the sunrise over it. I was like, well, that'd be pretty cool. We should use that for the center of the logo. And then of course we like red and blue. So we put it around the outside, and she actually initially hand painted this. It's getting a little faded because it's been out here for 10 years now. And then we adapted it from a hog site over to semis. But in all of them, we've always made sure to have the flag and the soldier saluting it as kind of a throwback to my military service as well as the family's military service. My mom also wanted to do a barn quilt. Farming runs deep. Generations upon generations continue to farm the same land. This would be my mother's side of the family, the Dens. So she made this quilt, and this was the Robert and Esther Den legacy that continues to farm here. Pretty cool.
Rob, I can remember a text that you'd sent me, I think it was last December. You say sometimes it can be a lonely room. It meant so much when you said that to me, but talk about that. What does that mean when you're growing a business and you have that banter out there, that negativity, those people that aren't on board, people who don't think it's a good idea?
Well, I'll use an example. I was at a campground last year. I walked up to this guy. He's like, hey, I introduced myself, hey, I'm Rob Grover. He's like, you're Rob Grover? You took my lanes from me. I'm like, I didn't intend to. I bid 200 lanes, I'm sorry. But when you're growing the business, you're gonna step on some toes. You try not to. You do your best to mitigate that, but you will. And you gotta be obsessed with it. I mean, even right now I'm looking at my watch every 10 seconds because I'm getting an email. I got people working back home to get stuff done. But my wife says I have ADHD, but I just put it towards the business, which is good. And conveniently, she's come on full-time too, so now we speak the same language at home. To find peers that are at your level or above that you can emulate gets to be a little difficult, especially in rural communities. But when you're building a business and all your effort and all your energy is going into that business, it gets pretty lonely because you don't have those other people. But hopefully when I retire early and I'm on a beach somewhere, I'll make some new friends.
That's good.